Hey everybody, welcome back to another video with my Prog elite friends here. Today we're going to discuss everything good, bad, and ugly of 2022. So let's start with the good and the favorites. Who wants to go first?
Golly.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it.
Pace, set the pace, Brent. Come on.
I'm going to pick on Marillion first. I thought they had a real return to form with an hour before it's dark. I see it's been out for a year now, almost to the date, I believe. What were some of your thoughts on that album?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not the hugest Marillion fan, but you know, for the last few records they've put out, like Fear, Sounds That Can't Be Made, I feel like they've really sort of been on the uptick in quality for the last few albums, and this one's just a continuation of that. Like, it really feels like a good, solid record. It's not a concept album, but it feels like one of those records that you have to listen to it front to end every time. Like, you get swept up in it. It's just a really good record for Marillion, and I think it's one of the best they've done in the Hogarth era, maybe since Brave, even since Marbles for sure. But I might even put this one above Marbles.
Wow.
Oh, that's strong.
Yeah, that is strong.
That's strong.
Yeah, because Marbles is the one age era Marillion album that kind of checked all the boxes for me. As great as Brave was, I kind of put Marbles even ahead of it in that era of Marillion. But
Marbles,
the new one is right there, man. It's so strong. Fear was fantastic. I loved it. But this one's even better. So it's upper level Marillion, and it was definitely one of the stars of 2022 for me.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna be one of those guys who I do like Marillion. Okay, I will say it right now, do love them, very, very good. But I mostly just didn't really listen to this one that very much. I'll be honest with you. I think I gave it 3 spins overall, I think it was, or something like that. And it's not that I didn't like it, because I totally did. It was a really good record. It's just, for whatever reason, it just didn't quite stick with me, if that makes any sense. It was like, I know this is good, I like what they're doing, but for whatever reason, I was just like, okay, I'm done, let's move on.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, though, because I saw Steve Hogarth on the TV the other week. It was this is a British quiz show called Pointless, where you've got to give the most obscure answers or whatever. And he was on the celebrity edition of it. And I was doing that one Leonardo DiCaprio meme, pointing at him going, ooh, like that. I was like, it's Steve, it's amazing. And it was on that very same day that I saw him there, I was like, do you know what? I really need to give that Marillion album another listen. So that was a few weeks ago, and I gave it another listen. And yeah, I did enjoy it quite a lot. But again, it was one of those records where it's like, I like this is good, but it wasn't something which really embedded itself with me for whatever reason. But yeah, I can appreciate it for what it is and what it brought to the table, but I don't, for me personally, think it's something I'm really going to revisit that much.
And real Britain moments when a Prog legend is actually on the television.
Yeah.
We don't get that here.
No, we don't.
Unless it's Rush.
Unless it's Rush. Yeah, especially for us Canadians. I've dove into the album quite a bit, but much like you there, Ian, I find it's with a lot of the Hogarth era outside of a couple albums. I love it when I'm in the album, but once I'm out of the album, I don't really feel anything towards them. And I know I'm in the minority in that I wasn't a big fan of Fear. For me, it was one of the weaker later Hogarth albums. But I love kind of what they were doing with An Hour Before It's Dark on this one. I do wish that on streaming sites they didn't chop up the bigger songs.
Yeah, man, that drives me nuts.
It drives me up the wall.
I mean, this new album's got 18 tracks.
Yeah. When really we all know that there's 4, maybe 5 tracks on this album. And for me, I don't know, there's a few tracks on here that I can kind of take or leave. Only a Kiss I wasn't a big fan of, even though it's not even a full minute long. It's an intro to the Murder Machines.
Why did you just call
why don't they just connect
my theory
those?
on the number of tracks is just to drive up the number of plays on
Yeah,
Streaming
Absolutely.
revenue, man. That's the whole
Absolutely,
reason.
that's all it is.
More
That's all it
royalties and
is.
revenue.
Which is why when we talk about one of my favorite albums of the year, they decided just to keep it as one track rather than several smaller tracks. Sacrificing those algorithmic numbers for a better listen overall. But
Mike's
I mean,
just
that
giving away
being
what his top record is right there.
But I mean, that being said, it still holds some of the best music that I've heard from Marillion in a long time, like The Crow and the Nightingale. Nightingale. Being like a love letter, a tribute to Leonard Cohen, was brilliant and fantastic, and that's part of the reason why I love coming to Marillion. I don't like this one as much as some of the Hogarth albums like Brave, like Marbles, and I'd even say like Happiness is the Road, even though I know a lot of people aren't as big of a fan of that one. I love that double record. I know that's a take, but I love that record. But I do like it more than like Somewhere Else or their last album. I'd put it on par with like Sounds That Can't Be Made because I love that record. So I'd kind of put it on par with that record. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
What about you, Nathan? What do you think of it?
Yeah, I really like it too. It actually, Marillion's been one of those bands that I've always wanted to get into and always kind of struggled with because of their connection with a lot of the other bands that I like, and Pietro Avas and Transatlantic and things like that. So I've always wanted to like them and always have battled with it a little bit. I've liked albums here and there, but just struggled with their catalog in general. But I feel like this year I really dove deep into their catalog and did album rankings, if you remember, with notes. It was a really fun chance to go through their albums, some that I hadn't even heard before, and it was all basically because of this album, An Hour Before It's Dark, because there was such hype around it and people were saying it was one of their best, and I picked it up and I was agreeing with them. I thought it was really excellent, and I love some of the more extended tracks. I agree that I wish they were packaged together as one track on streaming, but I just love it. I love the closing is beautiful. The whole Care suite is one of my favorite tracks from the year
for me too.
So I really loved that. I thought that was perfect. And so
that whole Angels of This Earth, not found in the walls of churches bit. Yeah, that's pretty emotional climax to a really cool album that's telling great stories all the way through. And I know Marillion has been getting a lot of heat from people about being a bit too left leaning and H's, communism. Come on, man. He's just singing about real issues. And I think that bothers people. They want their music to be issue free and politics free.
Music's
that's not going to happen with
free.
H.
Yeah.
No.
There's a door to the modern music industry. There's been politics in music, so I don't know where these people are coming off. How dare you include this in my music?
Yeah.
All right. Who's next for favorite album?
Should go around in like a circle.
If we're going in a circle, who's next?
Who's next?
Travis.
Because I think everybody's.
Because we're all jumbled.
It could be Travis or it could be Nathan.
Exactly.
Travis, Nathan, Scott, Ian, and then Mike.
I got
Okay.
Mike, myself, Ian, Scott, Nathan, and you. So.
We're just all over the place.
It's all over the place. Yeah, gotta love Zoom.
Hollywood squares,
We'll figure it out.
Travis for the block.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. I mean, I brought it up, so I might as well. Unfortunately, I'm going to share a favorite with another one here. And it's the new Toehider.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, you took mine away.
You gotta go for your second place now.
That was the only, for me this year, there've been a lot of really good releases, but there weren't really a lot of excellent releases. There weren't a lot of releases that made me just mind blown until I heard the Toehider record, which was actually on Mike's recommendation. And when I did, that whole 47-minute suite, on my first listen, I laughed, I cried, I laughed some more. I farted. I cried a little more, and
Mhm.
I felt all the things. And that's the first piece of music that's really done that for me in a little while, because I've kind of been falling out of listening to a lot of new music over the last few years, and I think listening to that Toehider release re-energized me a little, and it just like, this is what I needed. This is the piece of music I needed to hear today. And it's become a staple of my listening since.
Had you heard any of Mike Mills' previous stuff before hearing this one, or was this
No, not
your
really.
first listen to Toehider?
This is my first like proper listen to
Yeah.
Toehider. I've like dabbled in some of his works before, and my favorite work of his on his own before, I'm actually struggling to remember the name of the record now. I have no memory of these memories, or something like that.
I have little to no memory of these memories.
There we go. Was his video, and I don't think it's on YouTube anymore. I think you have to like find some like shady backdoor
Yeah, like
video
Venmo or
website
something like that.
of him performing Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights in the original octave.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mike Mills is fantastic. And I mean, especially like of course, like most of us knew of Mike Mills through Arion.
Yeah, that's where I discovered him from as well.
Yeah.
So to actually finally get to like really sit down and listen to one of his solo works, I think I might have to go back and like check out some of his previous stuff now, because
Definitely
like,
do that. I would actually recommend at the moment right now as well. It's a really, really good time to be a Toehider fan, because a little while ago he did a little project called 12 EPs in 12 months, basically, where every month he released an EP.
Yeah,
He's
because I
doing the
noticed he
same
has a
thing
lot of
right
releases.
now. Yeah, he's doing the same thing right now on Patreon. He's literally just started doing it. So like it's like £6 a month, or I'm not sure how many dollary dues that will be. In Australian currency or American currency or whatever. But he is currently doing the whole thing again, where he's releasing like 4 or 5 songs, whatever, 25 minutes of music every month for the next 12 months. And then the best parts of that are going to be collated into like a single album, which is pretty much exactly what he did a few years ago. So I just remembered about that. So once we're done here, I'm probably going to sub to his Patreon for like the next 12 months, just so I can get a new EP of his music every month, because he's honestly fantastic. The extensive work that he's done in the past, both in his solo projects and with other sort of like things. There's this amazing band out there called Ostura, Ostura, and they released a record called The Room, which is absolutely 100% up everyone here's alley. This is incredibly bombastic prog metal opera record, like 70+ minutes long, ridiculous. And Mills has like a really prominent part on it, like in the vocal terms. And oh my God, it is just stunning, absolutely stunning. And that was another project where he was on, where I was just like, this man is literally the most incredible musician I've heard in years. And I cannot recommend enough that people check that out. They check out his past works, all his previous 12 EPs. There's records like Good and I Like It, and What Kind of Creature Am I is incredible. Mainly songs about robots EP, absolutely just unbelievable. The extent and variety of what he can do, and the fact that he just never seems to repeat himself, is just unbelievable.
Recommendation noted.
Yeah, no, he's solid. I first heard him on I Like It, and I guess I had heard about him via Arion, but yeah, I really did I Like It, but the new one, it kind of took it to a new level, and there must be something going on in Australia.
Yeah, right.
Because I don't know if we want to keep going around about Toehider, but my number one's from Australia this year as well. So it's crazy.
Yeah, mine was definitely Toehider. And I mean, I had heard a lot of their stuff before now, like the I Like It was like a really big surprise for me, his work with Arion. Yeah, this one blew me away. It was my number one album of last year. I love all the different emotions that it goes through, all the different genres that he plays with in this as well, which is ridiculous. And it all feels very unified and very singular, without being just like a random grab bag of styles that people are just throwing at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like
a lot of people do.
like a lot of people do,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And the fact that he covers so much in one case, you know, a single song being over 40 minutes, it's a lot, but it's also not a lot of time when you consider like full-length albums now, as we were talking before we started recording, can be upwards to like 120 minutes at times. You know, it's like, guys, come on, scale back.
People will sit through a 3-hour movie,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So yeah, I this one really, it moved me from like a tangential fan of Mike Mills and being like, okay, yes, I loved his work when he was singing like Wuthering Heights, when he was working with Arion and Arjun and his own solo work, to being somebody that I actively follow, like actively get excited for whatever he puts out next. So absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I want it in physical format. I mean,
Mhm.
I ordered it from the
I'm still
Bandcamp,
waiting
but
for my copy.
still
I haven't
yeah.
got it yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my copy as well.
So
Yeah.
that'd be really cool. And I love
Yeah.
Mike Mills, and I liked his contribution on the new Star One as well. With
Yes.
Oh,
That's-
yeah.
Oh,
the
that
song
one that you
with
did
Ross
with Ross
Jennings.
Jennings. Oh,
yeah,
best song on the record as well.
that was really cool.
Amazing.
Oh, you know I'm looking up the Bandcamp right now to see when it's supposed to ship.
Yeah.
No, and they completely passed me over until I think October, when we had a video of some sort, and when you guys mentioned it, and like Travis said, it's almost a rebirth of music, and I'm still waiting for my copy too.
Everybody's waiting for
Like,
their
I'm
copy.
like, I remember sitting and waiting for the wife in the parking lot of a local restaurant, and I must have listened to about 3/4 of it just waiting for her, and it was perfect.
Wow.
It was snowing
Yeah.
outside. It was just, yeah, really neat.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
it
I'm
doesn't have
interested.
a-
Yeah, I'm interested to hear the physical because it's a different ending. It's like the
Yes, it
sad
is.
or whatever ending that I
Mm.
haven't heard yet, because I've only heard the happy ending. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's reason
right
enough
too.
alone to buy the vinyl, because it's like literally two different versions. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it's changed, but the fact that he's done that is just, that's just cool,
Mhm.
you know? What's more
Yeah.
prog than that? Come on.
yeah, it reminds me of like the physical disc of Brave from Marillion,
Yeah.
where depending on where you drop the needle, it's either the happy ending or the sad ending.
The double groove.
Yeah, the double groove.
Just cool that people do stuff like that. It's like, what? That's just cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, Scott, you said your favorites from Australia as
I did.
well.
It's
What's your
it's-
favorite?
It's
Ooh.
incredible. I mean, I'm telling you, there's something going on in Australia, because I don't know if any of you guys listen to Southern Empire.
Oh,
Mhm.
Just amazing. But
Mhm.
United Progressive fraternities coming up with some new stuff. Unitopia is back with a brand
Ooh,
new
okay.
rhythm section. That's
Mhm.
let's see, Alfonso Johnson on bass and Chester Thompson on drums.
Oh, wow.
As a
Very
Genesis fan,
nice.
I'm very excited about that.
It's going to be insane, just
Yeah.
insane.
That's
The
cool.
new
Esther
United
Thompson.
Progressive Fraternity, they're redoing a JPL song of Sapiens Part 1 with English lyrics. Oh man.
great.
Oh, my #1 album of 2022 was Ben Craven's Monsters from the Ed. And this is a guy who had released a few albums before this that were nice. I liked them. They had the nice Roger Dean artwork, so that definitely got me all interested in him from the get-go. But this one just grabbed me from the first listen, wouldn't let me go. It still hasn't. 2 songs, both of them are 20 minutes long. You got the Roger Dean artwork. It sounds like Yes. It sounds like Pink Floyd. It sounds a little like Genesis. Yeah, what's not to like? Count me in. Only thing that I'm upset about is there is no vinyl, and it may not happen. I guess Ben's talking to some people, trying to make it happen, but it's probably never going to be released on vinyl, and that just breaks my heart and brings a little
Yeah.
teardrop down the old
Yeah.
face. It's a crime against humanity, but that was my #1 album of 2022.
Yeah, it was so good. The only thing that I wish there was like a touchstone of like rejuvenizing themes that have been presented, because it does go from passage to passage to passage without a whole lot of I don't want to say repetition, but like themes being rejuvenized and reintroduced to create a really good like crescendo. But
Right.
man, for a double hitter, like 2 tracks in 20 minutes each, it brought me back to, you know, the Genesis of yesteryear, without being a carbon copy retro prog that we've been getting for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
It was just outstanding. And I love that it, you know, it took flavors of neo prog and retro prog without being a cut and paste. It was its
Yeah.
own thing and doing its own.
And
I
it's
loved
all
it.
Ben on every
It's all
track doing everything.
Yeah.
That's
he's-
cool.
And that just blows my mind. Not that
Yeah.
that hasn't been done before, but
Mhm.
to these ears, I hate programmed drums.
Mhm. Mhm.
As soon as I like
I'll try not to
suspect,
take that personally.
it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm like, I would
Yeah.
rather hear Meg White drum than a drum machine.
Yeah, same.
I would.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so as soon as I found out that that was actually all programmed drums, my respect level even jumped higher, because it's just phenomenal what he did there.
Yeah. Australia's been knocking it out of the park this year.
Oh, they've
Yeah.
been doing it for
Yeah.
years. I mean, it's
Yeah.
no surprise to me. Like literally, I'm like, look at some of my favorite bands. I'm like, oh, look, they're all from down under. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Even
I will
more
admit-
so, like half of them are from Perth, Australia. Just
Something in the water, gotta be.
There's got to be something in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I must admit, I didn't actually hear this one yet. I'll be honest with you. It's been on my
Same.
like list of ones to actually check out. Like if
Check
I look
it
at my
out.
Spotify,
Yeah.
if I look at my Spotify now, it's like, oh, there it is. Yeah, I haven't listened to that. Why haven't I
Yeah,
done that?
I
yet?
legit bought the album in like digital download because I
Mm.
wanted to support it because it was so good.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, I will definitely be getting on that probably this week, actually, now, especially because it's
Yeah,
refreshed
same
my memory
here.
that it's a thing, you know? It's like, oh, yeah.
I keep forgetting about that band too. So
Mhm.
like I got to get on that one.
Mhm. Yeah, Nathan and Brett, have you guys heard it?
No, another one to check out, definitely.
I think both of you would really like it. It's very much in your alley, Lee.
Sounds like
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it. I love it too. It was on my short list of some of my favorites as well. I love like the cinematic quality to
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
that was really cool. It's like really like there's a lot to it, and there's like orchestration and things like that really bring a new level to it and make it rise above just the typical, you know, neo prog type stuff.
I just loved how Ben structured the whole thing. He clearly had a vision.
Yeah.
You know, 2 songs. You know, one side on the vinyl, the non-existent vinyl. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that first song is in 7/8 time for 20 minutes. It never blinks. It never wavers. It never even thinks about giving you a measure or 2 and 4/4. It is unrelentless. It is just unforgiving. It is
Okay,
just beautiful.
stop. I can
then
only get so
side 2.
aroused.
Amazing.
I think you sold Travis on it somehow.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
7/8
Ben
time.
Craven,
That's
man.
my favorite.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh baby. I love me some 7H. You've definitely sold me on it, mate. I think I'm probably going to give it a listen tonight, actually, because I've got time after this, you know.
There you go.
It's a fun
Professional,
go around. Yeah, I
It is.
enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. And unlike a lot of like 2 tracks on a single record that are like in the 20s, one doesn't overshine the other.
Oh, that's good.
Like both
Exactly.
are
Exactly.
so good.
They're
you
so
know,
balanced. Yeah.
They're very balanced.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect, Michael. Perfect.
Yeah.
Look, pick an album, Nathan. What's been a number one choice
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, so my number one album, which, you know, it's because I'm a huge fan of this band, they can kind of do no wrong for me, is the Deer Hunter, their album Antimai. Just totally, I'm a huge fan. Love the new sound on this album. They're going kind of in a different direction a little bit, inhabiting a new world that's separate from the Axe series, which I love too. But it introduced almost this like funky kind of element with horns, and I really love that sound. And I thought it was a creative way for them to you know, introduce new elements to their already existing palette of sound. And I love the storyline and how it's structured, you know, trying to introduce us to this new world, and how there's rings and they each have their own type of people, and it really dives into these like issues, social issues and things in that, which of course can be mirrored in our society today. And I just thought it was really well done, and every track just really hits hard for me, just really catchy, really fun. Just every time I listen to it, it's just such a blast and brings a smile to my face. So to me, I had to put that as my favorite because it was just the most fun to listen to, and just a band that's a favorite of mine, really hitting it out of the park and doing something a little bit different. And I really liked it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Nathan here. The Deer Hunter, literally, if I like had a gun to my head and had to choose who my favorite band were, I would 9 times out of 10 say the Deer Hunter, just because I suppose the emotional resonance that they've had with me over the years since I first discovered them has been second to almost none. I can remember finding Act 4 is how I sort of got into the band. I mean, I think quite a few people got into Act 4 because it was kind of almost like a resurgence of the band. They were really energized from like the brief sort of period of time between. It was like it went Act 3 and then it went Migrant. I think.
Migrant. I love Migrant.
Migrant's good.
Yeah.
Oh, Migrant's good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Then on to like the Color Spectrum, which was just unbelievable.
Really good too.
So crazy.
Yeah.
But then there was a couple of years break, and then Act 4 came in, and there was all this massive orchestration that came in with all the music. And I was floored. I could not believe what I was listening to. It was like, you know, that moment in Ratatouille where like the bad guy chef like eats the stew and he's like, voomp, like that, straight back to his childhood. It was that sort of awakening moment for me. And I get that so infrequently with music these days, that when it does happen, I just cling to that like nothing. And the Deer Hunter have always been that sort of level of sort of engagement with me. And Antimai just really just knocked it again out of the park for me. That was just rode quite high in my top 10 of the year as well. Not quite number 1 for me, but it was unbelievable. It's such an exciting, such a treasured record for me. I love it so much, and I am only slightly disappointed that I believe Sunya might have been delayed until next year, which is very annoying. I was really looking forward to it this year, and I was like, no, damn you, vinyl shortage. So that was upsetting when I found out about that. But hey, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
True.
Yeah, but should they not release it digitally?
I really wish they would.
You know,
I
and
don't know.
because people are going to buy the vinyl regardless.
That's it.
That's true.
I mean, I'm still waiting on my copy of the vinyl, so still waiting.
I've been a big fan of Casey since Receiving End of Sirens. I got in on the acts right from the beginning. Luckily, I had a friend that pointed me towards this thing called the Deer Hunter. I'm like, I love Deer Hunter, man. They're an awesome band out of Georgia. Oh no, it's the Deer Hunter. I'm like, okay. And wow. Act 2 was better than Act 1. Act 3 was better than Act 2. Migrant was just amazing. And then Act 4 came out and kind of just, blew up the world.
Yeah.
But my question was Act 5 as good as Act 4? And it almost seemed for the first time in the Deer Hunter's recorded career that maybe, just maybe, there wasn't huge amounts of growth. I love Act 5, don't get me wrong. So when Antimai came out, I was not thrilled, not happy. Where's my Act 6? Number 1. But then upon listening to Antimai a couple of times, it was the exact right move at the exact right time. He feels energized. He feels refreshed. And man, I love those horns. And some of that funky stuff just sounds great in his hands. I usually don't like that kind of music, but when it's in his capable hands, he can take me wherever he wants to go musically. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does next here with the Sunya follow-up. It should be awesome.
Yeah. I'm loving the more jazzy approach to it. Like he was flirting with it a little bit in Act 4 and 5, but like this is where he went like straight up more like. At first I said like Donkey Kong country music. Upon further listening, and he actually called me out. He was like, well, I was actually going more for cardiacs. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can hear that now. I can hear the cardiacs rather than Donkey Kong country. My apologies there. But I think what he did was so ingenious in introducing us to this world through the Indigo Child being a very personal story first, and then introducing us to the world map later. So we are introduced through a very personal story with the Indigo Child, and I love the Indigo Child. It's so smooth and so intimate, whereas this Antimai is much more this world map. You get all the different districts, you get all the different flavors, and yeah, I love the groove and the progression of Casey's music as each album unfolds, and I'm super excited for the next one. Yeah.
I'm going to be the odd one out and say that the Deer Hunter for me has always been kind of a I have to be in the right mood kind of band.
That's fair.
So I haven't
That's fair.
really sat and listened to Antimai yet, but I'm hearing funk influences. I can't
very
really
much so.
picture that, so I might have to give this one a spin, see what's shaking with it.
Well, my wife always, whenever I played Deer Hunter, she's like, "You guys call this prog?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, what does it sound like to you?" She's like, "It sounds like emo to me." So, it's not your capital P prog, but I dig what he does, man.
Yeah.
I love a band that's able to flirt with prog without being like the capital P prog. One of my favorite projects. Yeah, one of my favorite projects that they did was when they were on tour with Between the Buried and Me, and each band covered one of their songs.
Oh, that was so good, wasn't it?
It was just
oh my
so
God.
good.
Yeah, that split EP is astonishing.
What song did BT Man cover, or did Deer Hunter cover?
Yeah, Between the Buried and Me covered Tank from the third act.
I can see that.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to remember what song Deer Hunter
Between the Buried and Me song they did.
Yeah, that's the one I can't remember.
Like, I can't picture.
It was something from Alaska, I think. Okay. It was either from one of the earlier albums. I want to say it was from Alaska.
Cut a Flip.
Could be wrong.
It would have to be one of the softer ones.
I think it was someone off Coma Ecliptic. I think it was. It might.
Was it Coma Ecliptic?
Yeah,
oh, maybe
I'm
it
pretty
was.
Sure. I can't remember which one it was.
If you search Deer Hunter. I know. I'm. It's a Spotify, right? EPs.
And my dissenting opinion on Deer Hunter is ironic, coming from somebody that could literally be a body double for Casey.
Rapid Calm of Coma Ecliptic.
That's the one. Yes. Okay. For some reason, I thought it was Alaska, but you're right.
They're both really, really interesting takes on each other's songs, though. I absolutely love it. It's so cool to me when I did that. I was
very
like,
good.
More of this, please.
Yes, please.
Just do an entire record each other, it's fine.
Ian, I think it is your turn.
All right. What's he got for us? I'm excited.
Golly gosh. Well, I can tell you now, I don't think many of you, apart from Michael, have actually listened to this one. Not that I'm aware of, at least, anyway. So when I was sort of like going through my top 15, I noticed there was a distinct trend, certainly the album art of the things that I've listened to, and I noticed that it was none less than the beautiful Circle. So you got Big Trains, Welcome to Planet, Circle. You got Rolo Tomasi with their record When Myth Becomes Memory. That's Circle on it.
So good.
You got Versus A Voyage Destination with the Circular Planet. You got Elder with a Big Circle again. You got David Max and McKick with another Big Circle. And my number one pick of 2022 was another record with a Big Circle in it. Now, I would argue this is potentially not strictly speaking a prog album, although I do feel that in some ways it is tangentially related to prog in how it's structured. It is a singer-songwriter album by a gentleman called Will Wood, and it was the album In Case I Make It.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's crazy. It is the strangest artist I've ever encountered in my life. Like back in the day, he released this record called the Normal album, and it was anything but normal. It was insane. It was the strangest, most over-the-top, incredible, ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And I discovered it late in the year after it had come out. And I always told myself, retrospectively,
what is this thing called again, Ian? I'm gonna pull it up here. Well, you talk about. I don't even know who we're talking about here.
Yeah, there you go. Will Wood. In case I make it.
Will Wood. In case I make it.
Okay, thank you.
Incredible record. But this his previous one, the Normal album, had sort of passed me by, but I really wanted it to have been my retrospective record of the year. So when I found out that he was making a new one coming out in 2022, I was like, right, put aside everything, I'm listening to this pronto. Now, a little bit of background from when I first started listening to this album. I'd had some really, really shit news. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to turn this into like a Dear Esther rant blog or anything like that, but I had some crap news basically. And then this album landed in my lap after that. And the way I would describe this record, it is an extremely intimate, very personal singer-songwriter record. It's very long. It's 16 tracks long, and it is 72 minutes. And basically only one track on here is a filler track. So you basically got 15 minutes, 15 songs are like almost 70 plus minutes long because of that. And it is possibly one of the most sort of heartfelt deep dives into a man's psyche. He bears everything. His entire soul is displayed for everyone to hear, from every single black mark that he's ever had in his life. He talks about earnestly, openly, and honestly, and in such a fashion that when you listen to it on a surface level, it just sounds like really, really good singer-songwriter stuff, but with quite complex instrumentation, especially like the later on into the record that you do get. And when you really listen to it, it's just like, oh my God, this happened to this man. You just think, wow, okay. And he's just literally telling us all about it. He's just like bearing everything for you. And when it came to that sort of level of vulnerability that he was prepared to put forth in music, what I felt at that time resonated with this record in such a way that I couldn't look at anything else. For a good 3 months, I really struggled to listen to anything other than this record. I mean, you've got songs ranging from stuff like dealing with the trauma of your parents' expectations, the grief of losing a pet, becoming like dealing with the fact that you were sexually assaulted as a young person, egotistical narcissism, dealing with the fallout of like being addicted to alcohol for half your life, that sort of thing. It's all very, very heavy stuff lyrically, but musically, oh my God, it just goes everywhere. It goes places you will never expect. It just explores the boundaries of what you can achieve with singer-songwriter it's just fabulous. I cannot recommend enough that you give it at least one listen through from start to finish, because there is stuff on here which is unlike anything I've heard ever.
Where's this guy from? Is he
I believe
US,
he's
UK
American.
based?
Yeah.
I believe he's American.
Fairly young.
Yeah.
He's only in like his mid-20s, but
Yeah.
the fact that he's had
Mhm.
as much, he's as talented as he is in terms of just pure compositional and lyrical style, and his vocals, oh my God, he had the voice of an angel. It's
Yeah, and
unbelievable.
earlier this year, he actually put out the album as a live, where he played it live. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the tracks are recorded at different places, but it does flow very, very well together.
It just absolutely broke me into 1,000 pieces, and I really struggled to pick myself back up after it got under my skin. It got so far under my skin that I couldn't get it out, but I didn't want to get it out of my skin. I kept sort of like debating, as a mainly prog reviewing kind of guy, should I really be having this sort of like non-prog album at the top of my list? And every time I told myself, no, put Paris as the signal heard throughout space at the top of the list, because it's still prog metal and that's your wheelhouse. I thought to myself, but I can't betray Will Wood like that. He fixed me. You know?
That's why I do 2 lists every year.
Yeah, I might have to do that going forward.
Mike, when we went down to Toronto for the Petrucci show, didn't we listen to some of his stuff
We
on
did,
the ride? Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember hearing some of that, and you were telling me
Yeah,
about him. And
one of my favorite tracks of all of last year was the track that opens the album up with Tomcat Disposable.
So good. So
As
good.
I think I'm the only other person on here that has heard this album and has dove in. Yeah, this album was really good. I have 2 kind of criticisms with this album, as you know, little asterisks. The one is like, I think this should have been released as a proper double album rather than a implied double album.
Definitely.
Just with helping to structure it. I also feel as though it's a little too one note in terms of the music, because it is unlike, and I know, and you're probably like, well, I don't know, but like,
no, I'm gonna hear you out.
I know. It feels very like singular in terms of singer-songwriter presentation. Like it's either Will and the guitar, Will or the keyboards, and without too much like deviations from the mean in that sense.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
You know, so when you're in that kind of a mood, it hits you just right, and it hits you really, really
definitely.
powerfully, especially with what he's singing about and what he's bringing to the table.
I think for me, like, it was the latter half of the record, I think, is where he kind of breaks away a little bit from that sort of like, here's me and my guitar and here's or a piano. Because when you've got songs like Against the Kitchen Floor, which almost goes a bit salsa style at some parts of it, or Willard, where it's this epic sweeping orchestra at the start, or even just this almost like, that's it, close the chapter, we're done here, with white noise at the very end of it, where it really feels like he's closing things off and he's just almost signing off from music at the point, the way he's sort of like closing it out. I feel like that latter half really does sort of encapsulate the fact that he manages to move past it just being an acoustic album and manages to bring a lot more to it. But I do agree with you, certainly early on, it is quite one-dimensional in terms of its presentation and its style. I will definitely agree with that. But I feel that the album as an experience transcends any particulars where I would sort of think to myself, okay, well, I wish it could be this, or I wish it could be that. I always feel like the emotional resonance that I had from this record, and I appreciate not everybody will think of it in the same way that I did, because as I say, I was coming to it from a place of my own personal grief almost. And it was very cathartic for me to have this sort of like experience at that time, which obviously has sort of colored my experience with the record. But I don't regret having my experience with this record altered by the life experience that I had leading up to it. In some ways, I'm almost grateful for it.
Yeah,
it
I
sounds
would recommend.
interesting to me. I mean, I love like old Mountain Goat stuff where it's just his guitar and a boom box on record, pouring his heart out. I'm gonna check this dude out. Very interesting, and very gutsy to put that at number one here.
That's what I was thinking as well. I was like,
this is particularly on brand for me, but he put it out on cassette.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
So now I'm sold.
There you go. Yeah. I would recommend.
I think we all need, especially as guys, albums like this that kind of speak to us, because we're not, the greatest communicators. And I love emotional albums like this. And I'm definitely going to check it out. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah. I would even recommend listening to the normal album first.
Oh, it's so good.
That's the one.
That was the one that I played for you there, Trav.
Because so insane.
Like, I listened to that for the first time last year, and if it was released last year, it would have very easily been my number one album of 2022. Because it's a concept album about normalcy and how it's really just a facade, like it's all made up, and it's presented in like a 1940s, 50s doo-wop style of music.
Incredible.
And it's so catchy, it's so like energetic. Like there are a couple tracks off of that one, like Marsha, Thank You for the Dialects, but I really need you to stop. And Love Me Normally.
So amazing, that song.
That, like, I don't know, in my podcast of Quid Pro Quo, I gave this to one of my friends to listen to, because I consider this a prog album. It's a concept album. It touches very poignant thoughts and ideas, and I love the music in it. 10 out of 10. Like, it's a full-on masterpiece.
It really is.
So
it's a super.
I would recommend checking out the normal album.
Yes. And then do In Case I Make It as well, because they're both wonderful.
And then check out In Case I Make It.
That one too.
Yeah, that one too.
Yeah, that's me. That's just
I think it's your turn, Mike.
It's my turn. Okay. Well, unfortunately, my number one was already taken. And as much as I would love to talk more about Toehider, I think I'm going to have to go with my number two pick, which again could have very easily been my number one. And for most of the year, it was my number one. And it's in the background of Nathan's collage there. I'm going to have to go with the Von Hertzen Brothers, Red Alert in the Blue Forest. This was the first time I'd listened to the Von Hertzen Brothers. I had never heard them before, but I kept seeing the album pop up in like people's favorite albums of that particular month or that particular quarter of the year. And there was something about the album artwork that I'm like, I don't know, I'm not all that interested in it. What's going on here? But then when I sat down and actually listened to it, I yeah, there was something about it that I still can't not continue to listen to it. Like there are so many different songs on here that it's the reason why I love progressive rock, and why I come to progressive rock. There's a lot of like, there's a variety of tracks off this album. There's a lot of like, more digestible, smaller tracks. But for me, it's the bigger tracks like Peace Patrol, The Blue Forest, Northern Lights, and Anil. When I heard those tracks, I was transported. I was like, this is why I love progressive rock. Where other bands would have slowed down and stopped and called it a day, these guys are like, let's see where the music can take us. And that's part of the reason why I really, really love it. And it's not just a regular carbon copy of a lot of other prog bands, because I feel like as progressive artists, they do anything but progress the music. I love the fact that these guys are trying something new and it's working. So yeah, this one was one that surprised me so much. And like I said, I can't listen to Anil or Northern Lights and not be transported into the ethereal plane. It's so good.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites as well. Obviously, it's on my wall here, but it was probably my number 2 after the Deer Hunter one. And it almost made it to number 1. Before I made my final list for the year-end stuff, I re-listened to like all of the albums, and this one was a little bit lower, and it just kept rising up and up in the ranks the more I listened to it. I think it's a grower of an album, and just really beautiful, and just so many pieces just have these really epic moments, but then also really peaceful, beautiful moments. It's just really well crafted, and great musicianship and great vocal harmonies, and all that stuff is just really beautifully done. There's almost like a folky kind of element that I'm really enjoying in it. And so it just was one that really captivated me. I liked it when I first heard it, but it just kept getting better throughout the year. So
yeah, I still haven't reached the diminishing returns of listening to this album.
yeah.
Whereas like sometimes I'm like, okay, I've heard it enough, I don't really need to listen to it again. I'm like, no, I still get
keep
just
going,
as much
keep
out
going,
of it
baby.
each time. Yeah.
This is definitely making me want to actually go back, because I did listen to this one twice, I think it was, like back when it first came out, because I had listened to the Hertzen Brothers quite a bit before this record came out. They were always one of those bands where I sort of like had them on occasionally, sort of a thing. Never really got that exploratory into them. But the more you guys are talking about this one, the more I do want to go back and revisit it, because I do remember liking what I heard. But it was a case of there was just so much other stuff coming out at that time that was just taking my attention here, left, right, and everywhere. And unfortunately, the problem is right now, March of 2023 has come around, and there's literally 8,000 records coming out this month. And I'm just like, I have no time for anything else. Like fucking Friday had 2 amazing releases in once, and I was like, how do I split my time between these? I can't do it. So trying to find time at the moment to like re-explore things from 2022 is going to be a bit challenging, but I do want to make time for this one, because the way you guys have talked about it, just especially today, it's like there's got to be something there, right? And I really want to see if I can like make sure I don't miss that.
It's definitely one of those records that gets better and better with each listen. And when you've got 8,000 records coming out, it's really hard to justify spending that much time and energy dedicating it to an album. So I get it, but luckily I've been kind of tuned into the Von Hertzen Brothers since 2008 when Love Remains the Same came out. I like that record a lot. And then the next couple ones I didn't like as much. And then the one that came out right before this one, War Is Over, I actually didn't like at all. So this is a case in point where putting out a really good, strong single before the album's release. All of a sudden you're gone. That video, the nerve it takes to put out a 9-minute song as your lead off single. It got me really excited about the album, and it's the best thing they've ever done. I love it. It gets better and better with every single listen. It's a triumph. It really is, man. Definitely one of those records worth spending that time and energy with. So good.
Yeah, I just wish I jumped on the vinyl before they massively increased their price. Like trying to find it now under $100 is really hard.
Yeah, that's spicy.
It is a little spicy. Yeah.
It's like that with a lot of these prog releases. If you don't get in on the the first go round, you're in trouble.
Yeah, this is another album where I've listened to it and I haven't internalized it yet, but I'm gonna have to go back and give it another listen because I remember really liking what I was hearing. And like I in the same boat as Ian, I've never really like dove into their discography. I heard of them because they were opening for Pain of Salvation several years ago. I think it was during their Road Salt era, which, you know, would be a little more on brand.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is on my must listen list.
Mhm.
I like how we've all got like this great variety of different things as well.
Indeed.
Again, that's what's so good about prog. Though, it's like everyone's got like differences. We've all got that similar wheelhouse, but we've all got branching off parts to it as well. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody?
I'm sorry, it's a crazy broad tent. I mean, there's no other genre that will incorporate things so diverse as, you know, your prog folk to your technical prog metal and everything in between. If it's progressive and advanced and it's got the right intentions, we're gonna open our ears to it. And that's why prog is obviously the best genre. I mean,
obviously, there's no question.
Endless choices.
Yeah,
endless choices for sure.
So quickly, let's go around and just do some honorable mentions of our favorite albums. Just, you know, ones we, you know, praise quite highly. Porcupine Tree was one. The Deer Hunter was another. Charlie Griffith's first album, solo album there, was really good. Threshold's album I was really impressed with. Those are my few. Travis?
Those are great.
Wilderun's Epigon. That was a great record. Like, wow. I was really into the new Steve Vai record in Violate. Some solid shred on that one. Hellas, Isle of Wisdom. I think the song Illusion's Gate is my most played of 2022. I think that just about covers that.
I think my sort of like what I want to sort of quick spotlight onto. I mean, obviously, I'm unashamedly a lot more of an extreme metal kind of prog guy when it comes down to it. Like that's kind of like my primary wheelhouse, as it were. So like records like An Abstract Illusion's Woe, unbelievable, one of the best prog death metal albums in like 20 years easily. Then you've got things like as I mentioned earlier, Rollo Tomasi's record where Myth Becomes Memory absolutely blew my mind. And the twin punch of White Ward with False Light and Cult of Luna's The Long Road North really struck that sort of post-metal sort of vibe for me, where it's just like, I wanted something big, heavy, dark, and dank. And I really, really knocked it out of the park with that. And last of all, again, tangentially progressive variety. It's more of a mathcore than a prog thing, but the Callous Dowboys with their record Celebrity Therapist absolutely just took off and beat me about the head with a big stick and just didn't stop until. And even after I finished listening to it, it was like, no, we're not done with you yet, because it just earwormed me to death. And I was just sat there in bed humming some of the most ridiculous things ever. And it literally contained my favorite song of 2022, which was Star Baby, the last song on it, because it contains the most aggressive tonal whiplash I've heard in a song in like 5-10 years at least. It just goes, and then it goes smack, no, melodic time, baby. And it's like, whoa, saxophone suddenly, what's going on? You know? Unbelievable.
It reminded me of some of the things that Between the Buried and Me was doing with Alaska, with like Medicine Wheel and Selskies. Where it's like unbelievably intense, and then all of a sudden the heavens open up, and now we're listening to just brilliant, beautiful, very light and
makes
fluffy.
Sense.
We're
capable of beauty.
Freaking that's
I think Chevron Cut a Flip.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
It could,
great record.
Or Added Digglemutt.
Added Digglemutt, I always think. Apparently that was something like his kid typed on a keyboard or something like that, and they just went with it. So
song titles, am I right?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Good times.
Yeah.
I'll throw some out there.
Oh, good.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan. Anyway, I'm just gonna throw out a couple things. Capricar's Constant's third album, the Murder Wall. Another one that takes a little bit of time to get used to the flavor of it, but I really enjoyed that. JPL closed out his Sapiens trilogy with Actum, which was phenomenal. The Flower Kings just keep pumping out great records, man. I loved By Royal Decree. I thought it was amazing. And Kaipa had an incredible record out, The Tangent. I thought 2022 was actually a really strong year. And let's not forget about Ryo Okamoto's incredible The Myth of the Mostrophus. I thought 2022 was a really, really great year and a really good year all the way around for my beloved retro and, symphonic throwback prog that I enjoy so much. But so those are my honorable mentions for 2022. Just threw in a few.
Just a couple.
So most of mine have been mentioned. So I love
Thanks, Nathan.
Rio album, really good.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah.
See, I knew that.
No, I beyond the ones that have been talked about, I really like Pattern Seeking Animals album, Only Passing Through. I thought was really good. I like, each of their albums have been, feel like they get a little bit better each time. I mean, I really did like Prehensile Tales, so it's pretty close. But
I love the debut, so I mean, I love all three.
3 for 3.
Yeah.
3
Awesome.
for 3.
Good catalog. And for me, a lot of the year was like exploring things a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Like it was mentioned, the Tiktalika album I really liked. I really like Black Midi's album Hellfire, and also Black Country New Road, their album as well. Two things that usually aren't things I like very much, but just I thought they were really wildly creative and show a lot of interesting new things that can be explored in the future in the genre, in this like almost post-punk kind of vibe. So I really like that stuff. I like Pure Reason Revolution had a really cool record, Above Cirrus. I thought that was really cool.
Almost forgot about that one.
Big Train, Welcome to the Planet, that came out in the early part of the year, David Lungden's last album with them. So I thought that was a really cool send-off as well.
Love that record. It's so good.
Yeah. And most of mine have already been talked about. Like Charlie Griffiths, Rio, Abstract Illusion was incredible. Again, probably one of the best death metal records I've heard in the past 20 years. Perius, Rollo Tomasi, Black Country New Road, Black Midi, like all of those were just incredible. The ones that haven't been mentioned yet that I really loved was the cap off of Michael Romeo's War of the Worlds.
That really was great, wasn't it?
The part 2 just blew me. Like part 1 was good, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is great, like Symphony X tangential kind of music, but like part 2 was something of its own beast. That
hot take. I think Romeo's stuff is better than what Symphony X has been putting out lately.
Yeah.
What stuff that Symphony X have been putting out lately? They haven't released anything in like 13 years.
Yeah. I mean,
come on, Russell, where are you?
Yeah, this is on par with like Paradise Lost or Divine Wings of Tragedy, or like top tier.
Yes.
Odyssey.
The Odyssey
is so good.
Like I nearly killed my father when I took him to see Symphony X, and as they're playing out the final like track is the Odyssey, and he's like, I need to leave, I can't take this anymore. And I stared daggers at him, and I'm like, I'm only leaving because I made you leave with Deep Purple because I had a migraine, so that's the only reason. This is your one boon, this is it. So yeah, but outside of Michael's work, Zealand Ardor's self-titled here was so friggin' good. If you like black metal, it was so good. Wise Blood for more of like a pop stuff. The In the Darkness Hearts Aglow was so friggin' good. Gospel put out their first record in almost 20 years. We thought it was a one album and then done, but like
single song EP they released as well. Afterwards, really good.
Oh,
as well.
It's on par, if not better. All the things that King Gizzard did this past year. My favorite one from them was The Changes, the last one, but like each one really knocked it out of the park. And then just really quick rapid fire, the Hannah Peel and Opera Orchestra for some really great ethereal soundscapey music. Same with Aurora for more pop music, The Gods That We Can Touch. King Buffalo did probably one of my favorite Steve Wilson albums ever with
It's good,
Regenerator.
wasn't it? Yeah.
So freaking good. More metal stuff with Persephone with Metanoia. Probably their best work. I'm going to put that out and say that's probably
I'm
their
still a
best work.
spiritual migration kind of guy, but yeah,
I mean,
see what
I
you
get
mean.
it. I get it.
Yeah,
But
they're all
one,
good.
one that I really hope everybody checks out is the High Castle Tele Orchestra with the Egg That Never Opened.
I did listen to that one after you did a review of it. Really
Amazing.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
amazing, like rock in opposition, very avant-garde rock. I feel
Very
like
cool
these
record.
guys they're taking what like Black Midi are playing with and like really pushing the boundaries on what music can sound like. Yeah, so those are just some of my honorable mentions, some like 20 albums there.
Too much music, man. It's just like 2022.
2022 was a great year for
It
music,
was.
I'm
Really
It
telling you.
really was.
Yeah. Mhm.
Still didn't get a chance to look at everything I wanted to, but hey,
Oh,
whoever
same.
gets the chance to look at everything they want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, same. Like even like the new Mars Volta album was so good. The Envy of
Was.
None and Rings of
Oh, yeah.
Saturn.
Envy of
Like
None.
Derek Shernan.
Meridian, I
Thank
think?
you, Sheranian. His album of Vector or Vortex. Vortex.
It was good. Yeah, I
so
liked it.
good. It was so good. So yeah,
It's
2022
always
was-
been my favorite Dream Theater keyboardist as well, you know.
Oh, that's a take.
I love Derek. I love him.
he's so-
I absolutely
That's a
love him.
take, but yeah, okay.
It's
I
it's
do
like
wish
him and Kevin Moore are kind of like this, like, you know.
Yeah, I
and then
do
Jordan's
wish
like
that,
down here.
yeah.
Ugh.
See, I love what
Kevin Moore is like life is pointless, and then Derek Sherinian's like life is pointless.
yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Oh boy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have some hot Dream Theater takes that I'm going to save for another time.
Do a whole video on him.
You could
I-
build your whole channel around it.
I absolutely could. My
Yeah, you
God, I
could.
really have. I have some opinions.
I'd
Yeah,
love
you
to hear
could
this
go
sometime.
all Loudwire on us, and
Yeah.
you'd
Oh,
have
yeah.
a million subscribers before we
Yeah.
know it. and,
Hey, you ever want
uh,
anyone to talk
boy.
about Dream Theater? Come talk to me because I've got some spice up my sleeve.
Spicy
baby.
takes.
I certainly do.
Stars.
How about you, Brent?
I already mentioned
Yeah,
it.
Brett.
I mentioned mine already.
Yeah, he started us
yeah.
all off.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Um,
Got the ball rolling, man.
Okay.
let's go to the bad.
Here come the interesting opinions.
Yes,
Here
here
come
we
the
go.
thumbs downs.
My first one is Arena, or a group that I constantly and hope that they produce something without being too safe. They never seem to do. And the new album, you don't hear John Mitchell at all,
Yeah.
which really bothered me.
Mm.
Mhm.
I'm always in like a funny mood with Arena. I mean, Arena's fine, but my problem isn't with Arena. I'm not the biggest fan of Damien Wilson at all. I can't take him over the course of an entire record. I just can't do it. Like
Right.
he's got the skill's there. You know, he can sing. He can definitely sing. There's no denying that.
But
He's
how
fine
come
on
he,
an area
how
on
come
the
he
record.
sounds so much better with Threshold than he does?
Right?
It's
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Or like
I don't get
on
that either.
single tracks, like when he guests on like Arion records and stuff like that, I can take him in like single track or as guest on other people's albums. I just can't stomach him over the course of an entire record, and it really upsets me because I want to like him because like all the right parts are there. It just doesn't work for me, and I'm like, ugh, why doesn't this work for me?
I really like Damien Wilson a lot.
Mm.
I think his voice can work throughout an entire album. Threshold,
Oh, yeah.
Rick Wakeman's out there from 2003. This guy's got the chops, man. But I agree, there's something about Arena and Wilson, maybe not a great fit for some reason. And on paper, you think it really would be a great fit. You really would. But I think it might be a case of, I really think John Davison sounds great with Glass Hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes, and that's just how it is. Maybe he's not the right fit for Yes. Maybe Damian Wilson just isn't quite the right fit for Arena. The album's a little sophomoric, a little soupy, a little. It's not what I was hoping for. It's not a bad record though. I like
by
it.
any means.
I do like it. But
It's decent, but I think it's too safe, and it just doesn't.
But yeah, safe is the perfect word.
Yeah, it's interesting because this album came out very similar, like in time, very similarly with Galahad's new album as well. And I found they were like two different expressions, and like Galahad was immediate in terms of its music for me, and like immediate, like I knew exactly what they were going for. The things were being presented, but I found that was a little boring because I'm like, well, now I've heard it and I don't need to hear it anymore. I think what kept me coming back to Arena was how, even though it was very safe, it was a little bit more dense. There was a little bit more to it in terms of that. I mean, I had to really look and search for Mitchell's presence on there, which is part of the reason why I kept staying.
No guitar
so long.
solos.
Like, he's got to be here somewhere. He's here somewhere. I know he's credited. But so I enjoyed my time, but I would agree that it's probably not their best work. You know, they've done better work in the past. Yeah.
Travis,
Where do I begin?
Spicy time.
I've got a list of albums that have kind
This
of
is
fallen
book
short.
out. Like, right, let's go.
It's like I'm actually trying in my head right now to like discern which one I'd go with. The new Meshuggah didn't do anything for me, and I'm
same.
I'm very much like a Meshuggah fan, but
Opposite,
I think
Whoa.
for me, there used to be a time when every Meshuggah album was like almost the complete opposite of the one that came before it. You know, especially in their early days when they were transitioning from like a very normal Metallica style thrash metal band into something more progressive with None and Destroy, Erase, Improve. You know, and they kept adding strings to their guitars, and then you get Nothing, and that was like solid, slow.
Oh yeah,
belt your face, stank face grooves.
He's great. I love that stuff, man.
And then, you know, they would have like Catch 33 with a more conceptual, strange, progressive kind of bent. And then with Obzen, you know, they kind of settled into a pattern. And that album was good, but then everything that kind of came after was just Obzen Part 2, Obzen Part 3.
Pretty much.
100% agreed with you on that one. Yeah.
And for a band that for most of the history that I've been a fan of them has been innovating metal, to hear them kind of just rest on their laurels. I mean, I get that they're getting up there in age. They probably aren't as in tune with what's going on in the metal scene nowadays as they were when they were coming up as a band.
Oh yeah. It does make me wonder, how much do they know about the imitators? How much are they now allowing themselves to become the people who are imitating their style? I mean, there's a genre which has literally been named after what they were the progenitors of, you know, like, gent, that's a genre.
I say this as a gent fan. I do know that they are aware of bands like Periphery.
Okay, yeah.
Like, they know they exist. It's not like they're completely unaware, but I think they've just reached a point where it's like, you know, we're getting older now. We don't need to innovate anymore. We have bands that are carrying what we do a little differently.
I would definitely agree with you on this one. It almost feels like they were just cranking the handle and just like getting another turn of the wheel and putting something out there. It's a perfectly fine record, but like you say, it's too safe for a band who have existed in a fashion of really pushing the envelope. And for me, it was quite disappointing for them to sort of like not innovate in the way that I know that they have done in the past.
It's a hard spot for Meshuggah, though. I mean, honestly, if you ask them to reinvent the wheel again,
exactly.
Hey, come on, man!
Like, we've done that 3 times already.
On a personal level, too, like I'm a guitar player, and I love to hear a nice, crazy guitar solo. Frederick Thorndahl technically is on this record, but he only plays like a couple of solos, and they're his like random tapping solos. There's none of his like good melodic jazz fusion-y kind of style on this record. And I find that really disappointing because like I
Mhm.
love that like improvised jazz fusion-y style. I could live without the random here's me spamming a bunch of tapped arpeggios that make no sense solos.
Yeah, I
They're
think
all right, but he leans on
Yeah.
them too much on this record.
Yeah, for me, the only saving grace of this album was I enjoyed it a little bit more than the violent. What was it?
Violent Sleep of Reason.
The violent sleep of reason. I was like,
I'll
is it the
give you
violent
that.
reason of sleep? The violent, like, I liked it more than that record, but it's, I don't know. I'm with you in that I yearn for a little bit more, but I'm like, yeah, these guys are getting old. Like they're getting up there in age. How much more can we actually ask of them?
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
You know. Who's up next for a nice spicy take?
Spicy take. I
I
don't
mean,
have
I've
a
got
spicy
more.
take, man.
I've got more.
No, I think I'm
Charles
up.
like,
And
I've got a whole bag here, you know.
Let me at him.
I
New
like everything.
porcupine
I don't
tree
mind,
for me.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I like
that
it
is-
all.
Ooh, now here we go. Here's the spicy takes.
There we go.
This is what
Porcupine
I'm waiting
tree.
for.
I think that's my problem. No, probably if there was one thing that disappointed me the most in 2022, it may not be a particular album because I do like the Troika album. I do like how well Nick, Ross and Neil's voices blended together, but I don't like the fact that Neil Morse didn't put out a Prog album in 2022.
Oh yeah.
And, it looks like the next thing in the pipeline out of him is going to be like Jesus Christ the Exorcist Part 2, something called Joseph he's working on.
Joseph. I think it's.
And I'm not
is it-
excited about that. So my biggest disappointment is that with the demise of Transatlantic, that Neil Morris's muse might be going
Right.
in a different direction that I am not particularly excited about. So that's my hot take right there.
Yeah,
Legit.
that's-
Yeah, that's
okay.
legit.
Yeah, that's legit. Yeah, because I think I don't know if Joseph is the continuation or the sequel to Jesus Christ the Exorcist, or is it the third part of the Sola Scriptura thing that here?
I am
don't
not
know where it
sure.
is. All
I
know
don't
is
know
it's
where
weird.
the storyline goes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I think
if it's Mike Portnoy less project, I'm
Yeah.
not as inclined to be
I was going to say,
as
I think
interested.
if any of us know, I think it would be Nathan.
yeah, I think
that's
it's
true.
I think it's more akin to the Jesus Christ Exorcist type setting with a bunch of guests and like more of a musical style, it sounds like, and it's going to be split to two different parts, like an album this year and then part two next
Okay.
year or something like
Kind of
that.
interesting.
Because I loved Jesus Christ of the Exorcist.
Did
I thought
you?
that was
Did
his-
you? And
I did, yeah.
I don't get it, man.
Yeah, I
I'm a
loved it.
Christian and everything, but
Yeah.
the more Neil leans into it, the less I
Yeah,
like it, I guess.
'cause
But and I love Ted Leonard. I love Ted Leonard, but I didn't really care for him on Jesus Christ the Exorcist for some reason.
Was that the year that he also put out the Great Adventure?
I think it might have been, yeah.
No.
Yeah, because I remember he
it
put
was.
out two.
Before,
I
wasn't
know
it?
he put out two. I can't remember. I just remember that that was the year that was my favorite Neil Morse project out of like the several that he had put out that year.
I will be of the
yeah.
opinion that he has, for me personally, never done better than Sola Scriptura. Like that is
Great
literally that is for me peak Neil Morse, and I like a lot of the other stuff. So like Similitude of a Dream is great, Great Adventure is great, love all the stuff. The Neil Morse band one that came out the other year, Innocence and Danger, amazing, loved it. But something about Sola Scriptura really just
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm with you. Sola Scriptura and Question Mark to me. His third and fourth solo albums are like to me the twin peaks of Neil Morse greatness. So good.
Yeah.
I don't wonder if they're going to be a new Flying Colors album though.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, I hope
That
so.
would
Them
nice.
headlining the
Yeah.
cruise.
Oh yeah, they're
The
on Cruise to the
Cruise,
Edge, aren't
yeah.
they? Yeah.
Again, that's another band that's 3 for 3. Like all three records of theirs
Oh,
is
yeah.
extremely solid, even though they're more pop than they are prog.
Still great though.
Yeah,
Everybody loves them. Like,
yeah, I love them. Yeah.
It was proved to me that if you give Mike Portnoy a microphone, he can actually sing really well. Because like we went from the segue of him singing on A Nightmare to Remember on Dream
Oh,
Theater,
God.
where he's going, "Dun, dun, 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 dun." And I'm like,
Hey,
oh
I
no,
love
no,
that.
somebody
I
take the
love
microphone away
that.
from Mike. He's doing it
No,
again.
no, Cookie
Take
Monster.
it away from the drummer.
Yeah.
And then he goes on and does Fool of My Heart on Flying Colours. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is actually really good. This guy can
Yeah.
sing. What's going on, you know?
Their cover of a Salty Dog on the,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Whirlwind.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, and I
Wow.
think he did most of the harmonizations on the Queen cover they did for
Oh,
Dark Clouds and Silver Linings.
Yes.
Like James LeBray did the the main vocals, but I think all the harmonies were done by Mike.
yeah,
that
like
all
you
the-
see in
Mike's
those
been
video
working
videos.
hard.
Yeah, he's been working
actually
hard
has
on
been
those.
working hard on his voice, and it shows. It has improved over
Oh,
time,
definitely.
significantly.
So there's hope for
Significantly.
me after all.
Woo!
Yeah. Oh boy. I guess I can add a couple spicy takes here.
Let's go.
I mean, in terms of disappointments, I have two types of disappointments, or worst albums. There's those who I came to with high expectations that weren't met. And I think the two biggest ones for me were Muse and Ghost.
Okay.
You know, like I wasn't a big fan of Ghost's prequel. It has grown on me since then, but Impera, it took a lot longer for me to grow on, and I still consider it probably their weakest album. The first half of the record is very good, but the second half just dies. And Muse's Will of the People is, I know they went into the recording session trying to make a best of with new material, and it just felt like a pale comparison of all the songs they were trying to emulate that I couldn't get.
Hey, when the best song of the album is called "You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween,"
it is the best track.
There's problems. Yeah,
and
we got an issue here.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm crossing my fingers because at least when I saw Ghost live and doing a lot of these songs, it brought a new context and a breath of fresh air. So that I really enjoy that record now, and I'm really hoping, because I'm seeing Muse this Thursday, hopefully, if I'm feeling up to it. And then, you know, the other side was those albums that I didn't have a high expectation for. I didn't realize they were putting out an album. And it just did nothing for me. Like the new Oh Hiroshima record, Myrid, didn't do anything for me. And the worst record of the year was Max Richter's new 4 season. Max Richter is a neo-classical composer. He does a lot of like soundtracks for movies. Like he does, he did Ad Astra, he did Arrival, he did a lot of
a lot of science fiction.
A lot of science fiction, but also just like
I
a lot
hated
of
Ad Astra.
Oh, I
haven't
loved
seen that
Ad
one yet.
Astra.
I
I
hated that
love
movie.
that movie.
Almost
Arrival's
walked out of
great.
the theater.
Yeah, yum. Anyway, about what was it? 3 or 4 years ago, he did a new composition of Vivaldi's 4 Seasons that I loved. It was like Vivaldi, but from a parallel universe. Like all of
I
the
remember listening to
motifs.
that after you talked about
all-
it.
it was
It
all-
great.
It was all there, but it was all like really, really well done. And so he did this new version of it, and it was like he took everything that made the original composition and his composition, everything that made those special and very interesting. He did the opposite. It was bland. It was like all the wrong choices, the compositions and the sounds and the moods just dampened the entire experience. And I kept shaking my head. I'm like, this is a composer that can stand toe to toe with like John Williams or Hans Zimmer and like put out the same type and the same quality of music. How is he doing so dirty here? Like it was just so like I shudder to think. It was the worst. And then of course the new Porcupine
Maybe
Tree
want to
album,
listen to it out
you
of
know.
interest now. you know.
Yeah, you should check it out for the worst.
Oh, Mike,
yeah.
you too with the new
But yeah, and then
Porcupine Tree?
just to slide in the really spicy take of the new Porcupine Tree album, it wasn't that great. So that's it for me. Those were my spicy ones for me.
I mean, I would definitely agree with Mike on some of these, especially the new Ghost album. Like, I have loved Ghost since Opus Eponymous. Like, absolutely love that lo-fi
good.
kind of 70s
So
sort of
good.
Merciful Fate kind of like occult stylings. So incredible. And then like whatever the frick the second one's called. Infestus, whatever.
Zombie Queen off of that makes the record. It's so good.
It's incredible. And like every record, even I mean, Prequel really did it for me though. I mean, I have to say, I loved Prequel. I thought it was an incredible record full of really catchy songs, like just so much fun going on. So I was like, yeah, let's go Imperial. It's gonna be, oh no, it's awful shit.
Yeah, it's all stadium rock from the 80s.
I hated it
good.
so much. I was like, there's like 2 or 3 good songs in it, and then 20s kicks in. And I was
stadium
like, nope.
rock from the 80s though.
Kaiserion
did it for me.
Okay, Kaiserion is really good, and Spittlefields is good, and Spillways is good, but then 20s comes on, and I'm just ejecting the CD and throwing it out the window because I hated it so much.
That song is absolutely terrible, but I'm actually gonna take a little bit of an oppositional stance on it. Okay. I like it a lot. Upon listening to their entire discography, I kind of like it almost as much as everything except the incredible debut, which I don't think they'll ever be able to top. I think it might be their second best album, man.
This is why it's good to have these things, though.
It's
more fun when we don't agree. You know, I much prefer it when we don't all have the same opinion. But for me personally, like in terms of like, as Mike was saying, like ones that you were anticipating but just fell short of the mark. And I literally didn't review it because of how annoyed I was with how disappointing I found it. In 2020, one of my favorite bands from the United Kingdom, Crippled Black Phoenix, put out an album called Ellengast, and oh my God,
record.
Unbelievably brilliant.
Are you gonna drag?
I am gonna drag Banefire into this. I'm so sorry. I'm dragging Banefire through the mud. Scott. I'm sorry.
And Scott's
gonna
done.
walk off now. He's unsub, block forever. I wanted to now. Bear with me for a second here. The only reason why I'm putting it disappointing, I don't think it's a bad record at all. It is a good record. I was expecting an album of the year record. Yeah. Because Ellengast was so good. It was so incredible.
It was.
That when I saw they were coming out with a new one, I was like, oh my God, it's 97 minutes long of
and then you saw that artwork and you're like, oh
yeah, I was like, that's cool. That artwork is amazing. It's so incredible. And I got to about the 6th track, Rose of Jericho, and I'm like, going. And by the time we got to the end with the scene as a false prophet, I was like, I'd fallen asleep. It just honestly, it kind of bored me a little bit. And I think if we were to trim, and I know it sounds crazy, trim half an hour off this record, literally to make it a 67-minute long record instead of a 97-minute long one, then I think we would have been talking about something that could have easily been sort of titillating at the album of the year.
I agree. Okay, our opinions are actually real similar. It needs some trimming. It does. Some of those songs go on a bit too long.
It's still a great record.
Some careful editing, and it probably would be the album of the year.
Yeah, 100% agreed with that.
So good.
And I think for me, the fact that it didn't light me on fire like I really wanted it to, like I expected it to. Some of the songs did light my world on fire. Like I was like amazed with some of these songs. They were so good, but then some of them just keep on going. And it's just like, my God,
just
trim
a little too long.
And for me, that is the example of why I found it disappointing. Like Ghost, I just didn't like.
Right.
Banefire, I was upset with because I expected so much more from it, but didn't get what I wanted. And I was like, no.
Yeah. Again, it's the two different types of being disappointed.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
The Mars Volta was that for me, where like I had high expectations, then I was like, what the frick is this? And now that I've listened to it a few more times, I'm kind of easing into it a little more.
Yeah,
like I absolutely hated it the first time.
I know. Yeah.
I own all of their albums on CD, and I'm like, I'm not buying this one. And now
I loved it off the first listen.
Same, yeah. I equate it kind of similar to a Perfect Circle's "Eat the Elephant," where
I like that one.
Okay. I love that record, but it was so different than any of their other, like the 13th Step and Emotive. It was. Yeah, and their first record that I can never pronounce. It was very introspective. It was very soft. It was very like moody, and like it was still a perfect circle. I felt the same for Mars Volta, where it was like, yeah, it's not that blow down the doors insanity that we had gotten from all their other works, it was a lot more accessible. It was a lot more soft and introspective. And I love the poppy approach. I wouldn't say it's their best work for sure. But I would put it much higher than I would like Goliath and Bedlam and Nocturnicate for
Yeah,
sure.
that's fair. That's
And
fair.
I know that's a spice take, but that's,
Oh, that's
you know,
fair.
yeah.
Okay.
I need to
Yeah,
re-listen to it, to be honest, because I only gave it like a couple of spins and I wasn't quite feeling it. But I don't know, maybe I need to go back to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I would put it on par with like Amputexture. Like that's kind of like the level for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that Octahedron is their second best album. So
Oh,
it's just,
oh, you're one
I
of
know
those
that's
people.
I know that's a
spicy
spicy take.
Nathan.
Yeah.
Deloused and Francis, you know.
Yeah, no, it's hard to top the 1-2 punch.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
like
Nathan, what's your spicy takes?
Oh man, I don't really have spicy taste. I generally like most things. I probably the ones I would have mentioned have been mentioned. I thought about maybe like the Coheed and Cambria record
yeah.
wasn't really my favorite. I
Yeah.
like the ending. The last like
Yeah.
few songs are really
Yeah.
like some of their best
That's the
stuff.
last
But
three. Oh,
Yeah.
getting
And
there
it's-
was
and
just
it-
a tough
It was
slog.
better than the last record they put out.
Yes.
It was half as long.
Maxis one. I
It's
love
about half the
Maxis
length.
one.
So-
Oh,
Yeah.
everyone's hating on Coheed, and I'm just like, I've loved them ever since.
Oh,
they
I love
started,
Coheed,
apart
but
from Year of the Black Rainbow, that can just get.
yeah, I love
I hate that
Coheed,
record.
but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Color Under the Sun as well. That was awful too. But,
Yeah.
yeah. Apart
One
from
that
those
didn't-
two.
one that didn't really stick with me throughout the year. I liked it at first, but it just was one I didn't return too much. Was the Jethro Tull album last year,
Yeah,
the Zelogy?
I forgot they
Yeah.
released one.
Yeah,
it's
I
fine,
did like
but-
it.
Yeah,
I
it's
still
okay, but
enjoy it.
It's okay.
The
Yeah.
first
Alright.
single released from Rock Flute is better than the whole of the Zelogene. That is
Yes.
my spicy take. And
Can
I'm
you
gonna stick by
pronounce that song for us, Ian?
Is it Rick Flute, maybe? Rick Flute. I don't know. I'll have to see how it's spelled
boy.
again. I have been learning Swedish recently, so maybe it's meant to be pronounced like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I don't know. I really like that one track, Man in the Mountain. I thought that was
Yeah.
a really nice return to some classic Tull, but the rest of it's pretty forgettable.
Did you get a kind
Yeah.
of a My God vibe from it, Scott?
Yeah,
A
yeah,
little bit,
I
yeah.
absolutely did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, if you look at the way that whole record was structured with the biblical verses that he had attached to each of the tracks, it definitely had a My God feel going
Oh, yeah.
for the entirety of the album, actually. But
Yeah.
anything that makes me think it's 1971 and Ian Anderson can sing again, I'm all in favor of.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I am hoping that the new album is a little bit better for sure. Yeah,
Yes.
Here's hoping,
Sounds
at least.
more
I mean,
guitar centered
that's fine.
from the singles I've heard.
yeah, it'll never like get to the highs of like Thick as a Brick or Aqualung
Yeah.
or even like Heavy Horses and stuff like that. You know, it's
Yeah.
just not going to go there. But if it can be good, then I'm happy.
Mhm.
You know, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be the best or the greatest thing in the entire world. So long as it's good, then I'll be happy with it. You know.
Yeah.
How many bands can be like still making music like what 50 years since they started almost? And it's just like,
Yeah.
come on, guys. You know, you
Yeah,
can't
and be
expect the same as the
listenable.
glory. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You can't
and be
expect the same of the
listenable.
glory days. You know.
Yeah.
As long as it's good, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But we'll see in like a month's time or so. You know. Woof, woof.
Yeah, it's coming up soon.
But yeah.
Wow.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I got
Yeah.
places to go and people to see.
Same here.
things to
same
do.
here.
This was a whole lot of fun wrapping
This
up
was great.
2022
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
all you fellers here. And I even learned a couple new things, and I got a new artist I'm excited to explore out of this whole thing. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's what it's all
that's
about.
it.
That's
Yeah,
what it's all
I've got a
about.
reading list.
That's
to go
right.
through
That's
now.
right. Yeah, homework.
exactly.
Definitely.
So you guys have a great afternoon,
You
and
too.
I'll be
You too.
watching all you guys' content.
Ah.
Awesome.
You too.
Right on, guys.
Absolutely.
You know I'm
See you
always
later,
lurking.
everybody.
Anyway,
Oh yeah, same.
Thanks, Scott.
thanks, guys.
Peace out,
All right.
everybody.
See ya.
All righty.
Take care.
Peace.
See you until next
Yeah.
time.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Still doing the thing?
Oh, did we lose Michael too?
I think we did. It's still recording.
Guess we're officially wrapping it up.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah. Okay.
One more
yeah,
spicy
we'll-
thing. One more spicy thing.
One more
James
spicy.
LaBrie's solo album from the last year.
Awful. Awful.
I loved
Hated it.
I hated it, but the reason I hated it is because of his cover of Led Zeppelin's Ramble On.
Oh,
Okay.
Whoa,
I'll
why
give you
did
that.
you just put the Led Zeppelin version on your album?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah,
The rest of it
I
wasn't bad. I liked it, but
I liked
man,
the album. I thought it was okay.
yeah.
The Ramble On cover though, nah.
Didn't
That's
need
all I
to.
have to say.
Again,
was
this comes
unnecessary.
down to my spicy Dream Theater opinions, which I will eventually get round to. But that's a subject for another day. Because boy, have I got some
More
cayenne
coming
pepper
up
when
with
it comes to them. Yeah, I will eventually do a Dream Theater rankings video. I think, to be honest, because my top picks aren't exactly esoteric or weird or anything. It's not like I'm going to put the Astonishing at number one because who the freak would do that? Some crazy person would do that.
That album's been growing on me lately.
It's an amazing single album with 8,000 tracks of unnecessary filler.
Yes.
Bloops and bleeps.
Bro, like literally 75% of that album and you've got a good record, I'm Lord Nefarious. Yes, that's my name. I was born to be evil, by the way.
Read the novel.
There's a novel?
Yes.
My God. Who wrote that?
It's a little more action-y than the
Okay.
album for the story, and it actually kind of explains the Lord Nefarious thing.
Is it a pseudonym?
there's a
Please tell me
reason.
he wasn't born Lord Nefarious.
Well,
Hello
I mean,
there.
I don't want
My
to
name's John
spoil
Nefarious.
anything, but yeah, it's a yeah.
Like, you know how a lot of people's surnames are about their professions, like Mr. I don't know, Adam Butcher. What's he do? Who knows? And then you've got John Nefarious over here, who's literally born to be an evil megalomaniac. Ha 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 ha! Spicy man.
Yeah, it's along those lines. It's,
Okay.
It's
I'll
not
look
as
into that.
cheesy as you'd think.
I mean, it always makes me laugh how cheesy Dream Theater is with the fact that the lead singer is literally basically might as well be called James the Cheese. He's like, hello, I'm Labrie. Or James Le Gorgonzola, or James Le Camembert, or it's just like, oh, that's appropriate,
Oh,
But
wow.
yes, I have passion. I actually love Dream Theater. I really genuinely do, which is why I've got spicy takes about them because I'll save this concept for another video of my own. I think
For sure.
Spiciest takes are on the bands we love the most.
It's true. It absolutely is. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to bounce now, guys, because I've got dinner to go and make because it is 7:05 in the evening and I've got hungry people in my house. So got to go put my chef hat on and go and get that sorted. So
right on.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
I'll take care, everybody.
Soon.
Yeah.
See each other soon.
I wish.
Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
I'm done. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I wish I could have brought up the one topic that I would have liked to have brought in, because when I did my own year-end video, I included a category that nobody else seems to do.
Oh,
my Hall of Fame, an album through the year that wasn't released last year,
that you keep coming to,
but that I've listened to over and over again, because there was one album that I maybe listened to like hundreds of times more than anything that came out in 2022, and it was Styx's Cornerstone.
Fair, that's good.
Yeah.
I can vibe that.
That was a great record. So
I'll have to have a think about that actually.
Yeah, that's a cool topic.
Yeah,
one's an easy
something
one
to
for
bring
me.
up in another. That's an idea.
That's
I'm
a great
full of
idea.
ideas.
I definitely like that.
I've
Okay,
got
I will ruminate on that whilst I'm cooking dinner. So I will
Yeah.
arrivederci, my boys. I will see you all later.
Take care.
I've been listening to the Rolling Stones Voodoo Lounge
Oh,
a lot this year since Charlie Watts died, and it's actually an incredible album.
yeah. I need to go back to that one. It's been a long time since I've listened to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. But I should go too, guys. So
Yeah.
we'll see each other in the next video.
We'll see you.
Take care.
Take care,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Peace out.